Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far as we get a little bit closer to that weekend. I don't know about y'all, but I'm really ready for this weekend. So, hope you guys have some cool things planned, but here to try to figure out a few things as far as the weather. The first thing we will discuss is the tropics. There's a lot of chatter out there about another hurricane potentially coming. Of course, people on edge with what happened with Helene and Milton, Debbie, and all those tropical systems that, of course, brought a lot of impacts. But here to give you the facts, here to break down what we're seeing as far as model guidance. We'll go over the GFS, Euro, all model guidance, talk about what we're seeing here, and if there is a realistic possibility that we'll get another hurricane before hurricane season wraps up. It's pretty late in the game now. We're late in hurricane season, but that doesn't mean that we can't get a late season tropical system. So we'll speak on that. We'll break it down. We'll speak a little bit about the pattern coming up throughout the rest of October into early November. And then we'll break down your forecast for your Thursday as far as what's going to happen across the entire lower 48. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. It's a slow time right now. I really have time to just spend some extra time with those prayer requests. When things are crazy, I get multiple videos behind on comments. A lot of times I'm not able to spend as much time on each prayer request as I would like, admittedly. So things are slower now. So, you got anything going on, you need someone to speak to or talk about something, just to talk to somebody about something, definitely here for you to lend an ear. Hit me up on Facebook, social media. There's a lot of people that are very lonely out there, of course. So definitely hit me up there. So with all that being said, let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the tropics, of course, the Atlantic, Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico. And your eyes probably go right to this thing right here, a big old spinning thing off the coast of the eastern U.S. That's what's left over of Oscar. Oscar has no tropical characteristics anymore, but a big slug of moisture as it continues to head north. It's heading right towards Newfoundland, and we're going to speak a little bit about that here in a second before we round off the update on the tropics. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. I know I got some loyal viewers up here in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, and just areas of Atlantic Canada, and you guys are so nice, so polite, and you guys are patient when we want to butcher your names up here and just mess up your geographical areas. So I thank y'all so much. We'll have a little segment for you folks. But as far as the rest of the tropics, it's quiet in the MDR. I mean, you got typical convection, but MDR season, main development region, which is what that means, is pretty much quieting down. You don't typically see any systems out here anymore. You do occasionally, but especially as you get later in October, which we are now, you typically shut down this area of the Atlantic as far as the tropics. But what about the Caribbean? What about the Gulf of Mexico and the Southwest Atlantic? The Caribbean is quiet. The Gulf of Mexico is quiet. Both pretty much void of any shower or storm activity. So you would ask, what is all the fuss about? And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But that's what's going on right now, currently out here in the Atlantic. As far as the latest information from the actual National Hurricane Center, are they dubbing any areas of interest out here? No, they are not. There's nothing down here. That could change. That could change over the next couple of days. Really, I would watch this weekend to see if they do, issue an area of interest down here. You will see a kind of a splotch in yellow down here for a % chance for something to develop. But as of right now, there's nothing. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. And this is pretty much per the 2 a.m. update. So there's no actual area of interest out here. Okay. Does that mean that the National Hurricane Center isn't seeing what we're seeing? Absolutely not. I think people actually think like that, hey, the experts are totally whiffing on this. They see exactly what we see, but they have to be professional with this. They have to use what they know before they just see one crazy model run and immediately put an area of interest out there. That's not how this works. We have to get some consistency with all model guidance, and that's exactly what we're about to go over. So the latest GFS. The GFS has been showing some wacky runs. I'm just going to be straight up with you because I always am. I think it's very irresponsible for a lot of people to post some of these runs. You got well-known people doing it. I don't think just because you put not a forecast under something that it warrants still being posted. There's still a lot of people, and I think part of it's on the public too. The people that watch and view this stuff. I think you got to put some of the responsibility on them too. But it starts with the person who posts it. And, the truth is all this information I'm showing you per Tropical Tidbits is available to you guys as the public. Now, when I show you information from like Weather Bell, other weather sites that, cost money, not everybody has that unless you pay for it. But this is free. Tropical Tidbits is free. I'm just going over the information I have for you. So just be careful the information that you see, especially from the GFS. It's showing some crazy scenarios. Just be careful how you take that info in, I would say. So anyways, we'll start this off for Saturday morning. We're going to go the entire length of the run that we have. We're 288 hours out, which is clear past 10 days. So we'll start off Saturday morning, the 26th, here in the next couple of days. You see just unsettled weather starting to get going. I think that, you go back to this, we're going to start to see some more unsettled weather down here. You're going to start to see some more of kind of like what you're seeing up here, down here, just more colors, which indicate, colder cloud tops, things like that, which means we have some taller updrafts, more convection. So we go back to GFS, we keep this going here. We take it into Sunday, we take it into Monday. The thing we watch out for here is just these lines you're seeing here beginning to circle up, which means we have a lowering of pressure. And then, of course, you actually look for the L to show up, which is the actual tropical low pressure, if you will. And we take it all the way to about next Wednesday morning, October the 30th. It shows 1,002 millibar low right here, pretty much in the middle of the Caribbean. Just a broad area. I mean, this could be a massive spin in the Caribbean, just a broad area of low pressure. And listen, I'll tell you this. The phase, as far as rising and sinking air, is favorable for one last hurrah with hurricane season down here. We're going to have a rising MJO phase, which means it favors rising air, which means it favors shower and storm activity. And it's still relatively warm in the Caribbean. It's not cooled down much. The Gulf of Mexico is starting to cool down. Caribbean, not so much yet. I mean, it has cooled, but not significantly. So you keep this going and you get into Thursday morning. All of a sudden, next Thursday morning, Halloween, October 31st, a week from today, we have a 991 tropical storm, millibar tropical storm, which would make this a tropical storm. Jamaica's right here, Cuba here. I would watch out if you're in Jamaica with this. At minimum, I think Jamaica, and I know I got some people tuning in from that area, I think you'll just get some unsettled weather. Worst case scenario, an all-out tropical cyclone. And, the GFS goes on and really bogs this system down. It develops a hurricane next Friday, November the 1st. Crazy, right? It's not unheard of, but it's certainly not super common, I would say. Develops a major hurricane, drifts it, I would say just westward. Okay, we're getting about 9 days out. We take it about 10 days out at this point. We have a major hurricane trying to flirt with the Gulf of Mexico at this point. And you just keep this going. It makes landfall, and then it comes up and slams Florida. So this is the stuff you're going to see getting plastered all over the place. And you might say, well, Mitch, you're showing it. Well, I'm showing you via video. I'm adding context to it. I'm comparing model guidance. I'm not just jumping on here and showing you one model and then heading off for the hills and letting you guys, fear for your life. Okay? Just because you see one model run do this, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it does have a landfalling hurricane, like next weekend, right? Like next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday. Okay? Now we take it, let's just go back to about a week, all right? This is a week from today, all right? Let's look at the run prior to this. Okay, it's some consistency. The run prior to that, all right, same general area. Run prior to this, same area. I mean, we keep going here, and it keeps showing up on the GFS. Okay, what about other model guidance? All right, let's go to the Euro. Same thing, we'll start off Saturday morning. We keep this going Sunday morning. Monday morning, you're starting to see a lot of green showing up down here. Not a ton, but you're starting to get more convection, shower, and storm activity. Tuesday, Wednesday, just a lot of unsettled weather down here. Okay, we're getting into Thursday. We're a week from today. Where is that tropical storm that the GFS is showing on the Euro? It's not there. It shows a broad area. It just shows lower pressure in the Caribbean. and you extend this even out 10 days, it does finally begin to wrap up some sort of low pressure. You see these lines kind of circling up together. This tells us, like I said, the pressure is lowering. We have to watch out for the development of a tropical system. So the Euro says, hey, I'm going to eventually do this, probably not as extreme as the GFS, but I'm going to take much longer, which I say this a lot in the winter. Delayed normally means denied. Not always, but especially in the winter it does. If you keep backing up a storm system and backing it up, or backing up a cold shot of air, keep backing it up in model guidance, eventually it just trends the other way and it doesn't happen. I'll speak a lot on that when we're breaking down a winter storm or big time, Arctic front or something like that. What about the Euro AI model, which has done well? We're just going to fast forward to next Thursday morning, Halloween. All right. It has a low down here, a lot of moisture. Does it ever develop anything? It eventually tries to, about 11 to 12 days out, which is a highly unreliable time frame. And it does start to do some weird stuff with it. It stalls it out, but it's so far out. It's hard to even talk about it to death. All right, the icon. We'll just show you 1 week out. It does show a very weak, broad, low pressure now deep down here in the Caribbean. Kind of like the Euro. Kind of like the Euro AI model. What about the Canadian? Same thing. A week from today, just a weak 1,007 millibar low pressure. Nothing too crazy. Nothing wild. You take it another 3 days past that, which we're 10 days out at this point. It does have a low pressure developing. The GFS a week from today has an all-out strengthening tropical storm. So one thing I will say about the GFS is put up or shut up time for the GFS. If it continues to stick to its guns over the weekend, then the thing you really look for, really look for is other model guidance biting on it. Okay. Now GFS stuck with its guns almost all the way until about 3 or 4 days out with Nadine. The GFS ended up being kind of right about Nadine. It just blew it up way too strong. Nadine ended up being a 60 mile per hour tropical storm before making landfall into Central America. And, the GFS showed it as high end as like a Category 4 or 5 hurricane at one point. But it did show a system just about before everybody else did. So, it's not Mitch saying you guys need to ignore the GFS. This is me saying, hey, just pump the brakes. There's no reason to freak everybody out. We need to watch this, see how it evolves. I say especially over the weekend. So if we look at the GEFS ensemble, which remember makes up 21 members, throws it all on output for us, what you're going to notice here is this area is going to begin to brighten up into yellow, green, etc. Okay, and this is only going to go out about, looks like about 6 or 7 days. But we take it all the way to that time frame. This is pretty much all the way to the morning of October 31st. You're starting to see members down here, and it's starting to brighten up. The signal is beginning to get louder down here on the GEFS, not overall, on the GEFS. Okay, it only goes 168 hours out. Let's just go on and go back and look at the OOZ from overnight. And we continue to keep this going. We go to about 8 days out, 9 days out, and we'll take about 10 days out. And yeah, that's a pretty loud signal, but the members are very scattered about. The coloring here is really driven off the strength of these systems that do form. So there's some very strong hurricanes in here forming, but it's very broad. It's very spaced out. These members aren't clustered, which you wouldn't expect 10 days out. And it's everywhere. I mean, some of these members kind of go over the Greater Antilles, over into the Bahamas, and then we start to get about like 11 to 12, 13 days out. And some of these do begin to drift into the Gulf of Mexico. But it's so far out. And the thing is, guys, is if I back all this up and I look at the EPS, let's see what this is showing. And dang, that stinks. It is not fully ran yet. Man, what's going on? This thing's slow. So I can still look at it. You guys just bear with me here, and we'll do this on the fly for you folks. Now, Weatherbell, for example, a site that, a lot of people aren't going to be able to see. But Tropical Tidbits, guys, is certainly available to the public, guys. I just always want to remind you that it's a great site. Levi runs that site and allows for us to look at all this stuff. It's just really understanding what you're seeing here. So let's look at this. Let's look at the EPS. This is from overnight, and we take it. It's kind of the same way of looking at this, except it's just a different way, right? But we take this about 10 days out, folks. It has like 4 members out of 51 forming. Yeah, you got some weird stragglers over here, but you compare that with, let's see if it's going to do this for us. So you compare that with, I knew it was going to do that. Let's go all the way 240 hours out. So this is a better way of doing it. So it doesn't have 4 members. It has more members going. This is more so going off the kind of the lowering of the low pressure. There's more members in there, guys, but you can tell that, this is a much louder signal. It just pops up L's. There's more members in there. I forgot the output on this is a little bit different. So there is more low pressure showing up on this ensemble run than the actual L's you're seeing. But still, you compare that and what it looks like with this, and it's a big difference, right? So one thing I want to watch for here, and just to wrap this up, is, is this going to the signal going to begin to increase on other model guides? If it does not, then I would say, the GFS might be off its rocks. I don't know if I fully support what it's showing. So that's that. Let's go over a little bit of information from our friends in Atlantic Canada. Newfoundland, I think this is going to flat out miss as far as the more significant impacts for Nova Scotia. I think this could bring definitely rain for Prince Edward Island and then eastern Nova Scotia. But I think as we're getting into this evening, rain will begin to become widespread across Newfoundland and then western Nova Scotia and, eastern Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. It's going to rain all night, all the way into tomorrow, all day tomorrow, all night tomorrow night, and then this will head on out. And then we're going to try to get some cold air that begins to move in. And who knows, maybe you can get some snowflakes. And let's see, make sure this is on the front. Yeah. Cold air is going to move in, and then, heck, you might start to get a little bit of snow as we're getting into early next week. But we're not going to speak too much on that. So the GFS does show this bringing a lot of rain between this evening all the way through tomorrow, all the way through tomorrow, Saturday morning. But as far as winds, is this going to be one of those high-impact systems? I know you guys go off of kilometers per hour. The GFS does show it's getting, in the far southeast, what is that, Avalon Peninsula or something? I think that's what it is. I'm trying to go just based off memory here. But southeast here and far eastern Newfoundland, you guys could get 80 to 90 kilometer per hour wind gust, I would say. Not consistent, but wind gust. And just breezy conditions. I don't think this is going to be anything you guys can't handle. But as far as rain, I think you go off millimeters here. But just, the European ensemble, I don't know what the professionals and the local people are saying, but the GEFS ensemble, is showing, from central to eastern Newfoundland, anywhere from 40 to as high as maybe 90 millimeters of rain. So, as far as inches, that's equivalent to just a few inches of rain. So, nothing catastrophic or anything, guys. I think you folks can handle that. As far as the pattern coming up, I will go over this information a lot quicker than I did yesterday, but I will show you, a storm system is going to move in. This will be definitely a more juiced up storm system for the western U.S. as we're getting into Sunday more so. This will bring widespread rain across the Pacific Northwest, some snow across the higher elevations, and then you'll just get this system all the way to the western U.S., higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain, just much needed precipitation. This low could strengthen and potentially deliver some significant snow as early to midway next work week. And then we get past that, and we can have to watch another storm system as there's just lower pressure and upper trough digging out west. Just multiple impulses of energy are possible, and we'll just take this about a week out. I think we just have a period of storminess out west for sure. And, as far as precipitation between now and the next 10 days, several inches of it. Some of this will fall in the form of snow, but it looks like certainly precipitation out west. This will help. I think you could always use some rain for the most part out west, but with La Nina, you definitely are favor more cooler than average temperatures and more unsettled weather, especially in the northern Rockies and the Pacific Northwest. So we can take this now, but of course we don't want too much. But as far as snow on the European ensemble, definitely a strong signal between now and the next 10 days of snow in the central Rockies and portions of the northern Rockies and the Cascades. So maybe a little bit of snow in the Sierra Nevada too. So we'll watch out for that. We'll move to the central U.S. Do we have any storm systems moving in for you folks? I know there's a lot of people in the middle of the country who need rain. We keep this going. We take it into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, nothing. And then we get into Wednesday, and this is Wednesday morning next week. Could get unsettled. A little bit of cold air working in. Storm system. We'll see what this brings, but could get some rain across the northern portions of the country. And we'll have to see what happens as more energy kind of surges at the bottom of this cold front. And about a week from today, we could get some much needed rain across the Midwest, the Mississippi Valley region. And then, we might just get more of an unsettled pattern developing for the beginning portion of November. As next weekend shows another storm system across the middle of the country. What will this bring? Severe weather, just good old-fashioned rain? Not quite sure. So the good news with that is it does look like a better pattern for precipitation is going to come to the central U.S. at the end of this month, beginning of November. So we look at the central U.S., of course, not really much snow. There is a little bit of signal for snow across the Dakotas and northern sections of Minnesota, especially as we move into early November. Not much, though. We'll have to see how this gets ironed out. Shows a little signal for snow across the high plains, too. But just as far as just precipitation in general, this is the good news, folks. A lot of rain coming, potentially, for the middle of the country, the Midwest, the south central U.S. We certainly need this rain, and hopefully it actually happens. But we'll certainly continue to watch this. We'll go back to this and we'll look at the eastern U.S. A lot of people saying, hey, Mitch, when is it going to rain? I'm asking the same question. Could get a weak cold front that moves in, bring some shower activity across the Carolinas this weekend. Let's hope. Let's see how this trends. This is Sunday evening. Shows a little bit of shower activity. I know a lot of people have mixed opinions whether we need rain or not. I know there's a lot of people still with holes in their roofs. We could certainly use a light rain, nothing heavy, and hopefully that's what happens over the weekend. But we start to get into midway next work week. High pressure still just pivoting everything around the eastern U.S. But do we finally get a cold front about a week from today that finally breaks this ridge down, brings a little bit of precipitation into the Midwest? Rain, definitely not snow. And then, we take it about a week from today, maybe a storm system about to move through, but this is 10 days out. I will tell you, between now, unfortunately, and the next, 10 days, folks, the immediate eastern U.S., it looks dry. I'm really starting to wonder. In fact, I know some people are going to go the entire month of October without rain. It's just looking likely, folks. So the drought monitor, they updated today, I believe, so I'll be able to show that to you tomorrow morning, but it's going to look worse for sure. As far as precipitation across the country, there is a system moving through. Some higher elevation snow. Bighorn Mountains might be getting some snow, but a little bit of light precipitation across the Dakotas, maybe some light drizzle. Hopefully that's hitting the ground. I know Connecticut has been getting hit hard by some wildfires, some bushfires, and I think a firefighter was actually killed. So I hate to say it, but I think that this is going to become a bigger issue. I think we're going to hear about this more. People say, we don't need rain. I've read in the comments, folks, I don't think you guys realize that, I'm hearing a lot in North Carolina that all that mud and stuff like that is drying up and dust is becoming an issue to people's health. So we need some light rain. Like even a tenth of an inch, a quarter of an inch of rain to fall at a very light to moderate pace to settle the dust down, to limit the wildfires, because I'm telling you, we're going to have a big issue with some wildfires if we do not get some rain, especially across the southeast and the mountains. I've said this before, you got dead brush in the woods, you got things that are knocked down, it's drying out, you got just, trees that are now dying out. The green is beginning to fade away to that brown. I mean, all you got to do is probably just put you could start a wildfire with just a cigarette butt right now. So, it's kind of like, it's easy to say no rain is needed, but we need a little bit in moderation. I know that's true. So, but this is as far as what's going on right now. Watches, warnings, and advisory. Some dense fog down near the Gulf Coast, or red flag warnings in Colorado in that hot pink. We got them in New Jersey too. Outside of that, you got some freeze watches, freeze warnings, but it's pretty quiet. Excessive rainfall outlook. We have a 5% risk of flooding here in the Midwest. Going to get some beneficial rains in the Midwest today. We'll talk about that here in a second, but no significant risk of flash flooding. But we also have a severe weather threat across the Midwest, northern Missouri. This does include like Kansas City, areas of eastern Kansas, extreme southeastern Nebraska, and a good chunk of Iowa, and areas of western Illinois do have a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. This is really driven off some gusty winds, some hail, not a huge deal. The southeast today, not a whole lot expected. Some pop-up downpours are possible in extreme southern Florida. We get into Friday morning. There's a system that is basically a shortwave trough. It's going to bring some rain in the Midwest. It's going to try to maybe bring some precipitation across all the way to eventually to the Ohio Valley tomorrow. But anyways, today over the next 24 hours, it continues to be very dry in the southeast. The northeast, same thing. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to speak on. No significant weather events. It's just quiet. The south central U.S., a little bit different. We take it to about this afternoon. There's that weak shortwave trough, just a weak low, you might as well call it. And it immediately erupts some storms across eastern Kansas. So if you live in eastern Kansas, some storms are possible. Don't let these take you by surprise. I know there's a lot of people ain't seen rain in a while and be like, man, what is this? Water falling from the sky. It's very possible. And eastern Kansas today, and you check out those storms in northern Missouri, central Missouri, some storms could fly through. We'll talk more about Iowa, Illinois here in a second. But this rain ain't going to get down to Texas and not really down to Arkansas either. And we take it tomorrow morning, maybe some showers, maybe in the Ozarks or something like that. But outside of that, it's quiet for the most part. North central U.S., here's that energy with that weak low. We're going to let's back this up a little bit. We're going to get some rain that becomes more juiced up once it gets into Minnesota. Some much needed rain flying across the state of Minnesota today. Could be heavy down near the city of Minneapolis. We're going to get some rain that crosses across areas of Wisconsin. Probably just about everybody in Wisconsin will at least get a drop of rain. Some rain begins to move into the western UP of Michigan over Lake Superior later this evening. And here's where these storms could, be active across Iowa, especially northern Missouri. They could pack a punch. Nothing too crazy or anything like that. But eventually overnight, the rain makes it to Milwaukee, Chicago, Rockford, some heavy rain overnight. And then we're waking up tomorrow morning to just some showers across the Great Lakes region, lower Michigan, and then areas of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. As far as how much rain could fall, this is a closer look at this area. Northern Missouri could get an inch. Same thing with southeastern Iowa, and then western and northern Illinois. Anywhere from a half inch to an inch of rain. Not a whole lot down to Kansas City and St. Louis. We'll have to watch for this. But, you look at the upper Midwest. Let's see. And, definitely some rains up here. Not a whole lot. 1/10 of an inch, 2/10 of an inch of rain here and there across Wisconsin and Minnesota. Maybe a little bit more in Minnesota. But not a washout by any means. In fact, it's much needed. But the western U.S., that energy that'll bring the energy to the upper Midwest and the Midwest is starting off this morning in like Wyoming. This will head on out. Things will clear out, and the entire western U.S. will end up having a pretty chill day. Not a whole lot going on. Temperatures in the eastern U.S. a little bit cooler behind a weak cold front. It's interesting that there will be a pretty tight temperature gradient across this area today, across the Midwest into the Mid-South. All the way into North Carolina, for example. South Carolina will be much warmer in North Carolina today. This cold front is just kind of dipping down, if you will, kind of just nipping the southeast. Not really a clearing cold front, not going to make it all the way down to the Gulf Coast. But this will bring some cooler temperatures up in interior New England. Just a fall-like day across the Ohio Valley, stuff like that. But it's very warm, hot, south central U.S. We talk about Indian summers, guys, and I think what's going on in Oklahoma and Texas is a good example of an Indian summer when you get that warm up in late October, November. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning. Have a good day.